Alright, so here we're going to try again with this live stream. I've let my phone charge a little bit. I've written out the outline. And so what's going on right now is if you head over to my Patreon, you'll get to see this. I think it lets you just watch it live right from there. So we'll see. You probably won't see any kind of comments. So if anybody joins, I'll try to talk about what they say or reference what they say in a way that makes sense for anybody viewing this later or viewing it directly on Patreon, which is pretty much the only place you're going to be able to see it because it's unlisted on YouTube. So as you can see, I've got my Studio Nicole sampler socks. They're called samples. They have no dialogue, they have no color, they have no color number information, and so it's just whatever it is. And they kind of look like confetti. So like, this is like a party sock. So anyway, I'm going to be placing the heel today with some waste yarn, and I've got this is not exactly the same weight, but it's close, and it's cotton. And that's what I want to do. So if you look in the outline below, I talk a little bit about the process I'm going to use. I'm going to use an afterthought heel, and this is the front of the sock, which is marked with a progress keeper, and this is the back. Now, up until this point, you can't really tell the front from the back of the sock because it really doesn't matter, but after the heel is placed, that absolutely tells you what side is what. And because I am aiming to do my afterthought heel before the sock is done, I will know what side is what. Now, I still leave these in here because this marks the end of my toe. So like if I'm just looking at it, it's really hard to see with these stitches right here exactly where it ends, but this tells me the exact where it ends. And so if I count all the way above it, I'll know how many rounds above it that I've worked. Now, I'm at round 72, so I've already marked that previously. And just a little bit of background. The afterthought heel is how I learned to make socks, and I learned to make it with a bit of waste yarn. Waste yarn is just scraps of yarn. It's best if the yarn is the same weight that you are working in, but you know, in a pinch, if it's close, you probably can get away with it. And I prefer this over the cut method, which just sounds ghastly. And of course, I've never steeked anything, which is also something that involves cutting. And if you scroll down to the links, you'll see what definition of what steeking is and a little tutorial from a Tin Can Knits, who is really good about their patterns. So it's probably a really good tutorial, although I haven't personally steeked, so I can't say one way or another via endorsement. After that, so another thing that is a little tip that I've learned, of course, obviously you should not switch needles. Now I'm going to be moving these socks off these needles onto another needle the same size, but I will not be working with those needles. It's advisable not to switch needles in the middle of your project, because even if it's the same size, a different material can throw the gauge off, which for something that's supposed to fit or supposed to be in line or just a uniform size, that's not going to work out. And, you know, maybe you can get away with it, but it's probably better that you don't. The other tip is to use cotton as your waste yarn, because cotton doesn't stick to itself quite the same way that this anything with wool or a protein fiber, which are all the animal fibers. They have a tendency to be a little fuzzy and they'll stick to one another. Now, there are plant fibers that do come off as a little fuzzy, but a lot of the cottons, at least they don't have the same fuzzy capacity that like wool does. So let's see where I am. Also, you know, don't worry about the time that it's taking me to do this. Some people want to knit faster. I've been told that I knit very fast. I don't see it, but I don't watch other people knit often, so I don't know. But you know, take the time when you are doing this kind of work or any kind of work, and let it flow into however long it needs to. You know, don't try to work fast. That's how you make mistakes, especially if you're not practiced at something. And you really shouldn't compare yourself to what somebody else is doing, because I've done several more heels than I've done socks because I've had to redo heels. So I know exactly where to place my heel and how to put it together, in what order, and I've got it pretty much memorized. So, you know, you're looking at me trying and failing several times and getting it down. Not, this is my first time doing this. So, you know, and because it'll make a more satisfying project if you do it that way. So, just a few things. My thoughts. I'm thrilled to be at this stage because this means that I can place my heel, which means I can properly try on my sock. And because I can properly try on my sock, that means I am also almost done with the sock, because I like to place my heels before the end of the sock so I can try them on without distorting any part of the sock. And I'm also going to get to find out if the edits I made worked. So I've been working these socks to pattern for the last 3 sets of socks that I did. This one has a little bit of an alteration. It is a 1/4 of an inch shorter along the foot, which is right here. And so we're going to see if that gives a little bit of negative ease, which if you see my last post, which I'll go back and link to in this post video. See my last post, I do mention a little bit about ease, and I reference an article that was written, but I also give a very, very, very brief definition. And of course, like I said, because I'm excited, this also means after this heel is placed, all I have to do is knit the leg, which is pretty mindless until I get to the cuff, which is for me the last inch of the sock, because I like a 1-inch cuff. And then I'll might have to backtrack and make sure I have enough yarn, but that's not a big deal. So, like I said, we're right at the point we're going to place the heel. So the first thing that I do is I take my socks off of the needles. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is what I consider my second sock, and this is my first sock. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this first sock off. I like to use a metal needle because it's really smooth and it slides off the yarn and it doesn't stick quite like wood does. And it's the same size, the same millimeters. It's a different company, and this is anodized aluminum is what it's called. But I'm going to slide this sock off so that I can do the heel. Now, what I will say is, whenever you do toe-up socks, when you get to the heel, you're going to do the heels one at a time, whether you do it this way or whether you do it at the very end of the sock. So, let's get my timer started. And this is, let's make sure I don't split the yarn. And this is all I do, is let's move this a little closer to you. And as you can see, I'm not rushing. I'm taking my time. The sock is going to get done no matter how fast or slow I work it. I just want to make sure I'm not pulling the stitches off the other needle. And the method I'm using for the socks in general is magic loop, which I've discussed in several videos, so you can just look at the last couple of videos, particularly my work in progress Wednesdays and some of my finished object Fridays. And there we go. So it looks like we're going to have to stop this video now. What's end up going to happen is my my phone is overheating. So there it is. The beginning of my transfer is done. I will continue on. You'll see more pictures later. And what I might do is, when I do the second one, do a video of that. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Sorry you didn't get to see much, but we will probably do short project times, like 10 minutes or less, via live stream from now on Thursdays. So look forward to that. All right. Bye.